Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today I figured I'd just go over whether or not you might want to consider picking up a cordless grease gun or just sticking with an inexpensive manual grease gun. So the price difference between a manual grease gun and a cordless grease gun I think starts easily at about $100. This is just a cheap no-name auto parts store manual grease gun. It is the pistol grip style, and as long as I've owned it, as long as I've used it, it's done a fine job. The cordless grease gun right behind me here that I'm probably going to be covering much of this video is the cordless Milwaukee M12 grease gun. And then right here is the Bauer 20 volt cordless grease gun. Harbor Freight did send this grease gun out to me, and I purchased the Milwaukee with my own money. The intention is to compare these things eventually. Who knows when we'll get to that. I got to pump a lot more grease through them before I make that video. One of the things that I think that the cordless grease guns have, not that I think, I know that they have over a manual grease gun, is just saving you from fatigue of squeezing that grease gun, you know, if it's the pistol grip style or if it's the lever style, pumping it in that way. Saves you a little bit of fatigue, and then it also saves you some time. These cordless grease guns put out a lot of grease at one time. Every cycle is much faster than you could put the grease in yourself. Saves you a little bit of energy, whatever it is, especially if you're going on a piece of equipment that has tons and tons of grease fittings. So that's kind of the big advantages. I would say that the one advantage that the manual grease gun probably has, maybe two, is number one going to be the price, which I already mentioned, and number two being that you just have a little bit more control of how much grease you are squeezing into a grease fitting. So where kind of this opinion comes from is a few months ago I was greasing up my smaller dump trailer, my 5x10 dump trailer from Delco, and I had been doing a bunch of dumps with dirt. I had dumped a ton of dirt onto my old property, putting in a drain culvert, and I figured, you know, it's probably time to, you know, grease this thing up a little bit. I probably cycled it through, you know, 25 times or so at that point, maybe 30. And I thought, you know, I probably could take a little bit of grease. So this is my first opportunity to really hit up a lot of grease zerks with these grease guns. I think I did use the Bauer for that one, actually. One of the things I noticed was that it just didn't really need to take that much grease. Like maybe one cycle on some of the fittings was all it took until it was full. By the second cycle, it was pushing grease out. And that's probably very few of them. Most of them, it was pushing grease out just about immediately. The point is that for something that just doesn't really take a lot of grease, that doesn't have a lot of grease fittings, and that you're just not greasing every single stinking day, it's just not worth it to have the cordless grease gun. Because when I plugged that thing in, like I said, it was just shooting grease out. I was wasting grease. It wasn't really all that much faster because it took very little. With the manual grease gun, I would have had a little bit more control over how much I was putting into those grease fittings, and I just kind of made a mess of things. So I think that the manual grease gun does have a little bit of an advantage in, again, controllability and price. Obviously, the thing that the cordless grease guns have over the manual grease gun is just speed. They can do the job way faster and offer you less fatigue. So that's kind of your, you know, your big two advantages to the cordless grease guns. So all of that being said, which is right for you? Well, being a guy that has a Ford 8N, 1952 Ford 8N with, I don't know, maybe around 20 grease zerks on it, and a dump trailer with maybe around 20 to 25 grease zerks on it, maybe 30 if I count every single little grease zerk, every little grease fitting on there. I just flat out, plain and simple, don't put that much grease in these pieces of equipment. They're the only two pieces of equipment that regularly take grease, besides maybe my chainsaw bars. That's a whole different type of grease gun that takes, or that those take. The equipment that I have just doesn't require something with this speed and ability and capacity that these cordless grease guns have. All I really need is the manual grease gun. So all that being said, you know, I do YouTube, I do a ton of stuff with tools on this channel, so it kind of makes a little more sense for me to pick these tools up. And of course, you know, that's probably the sole reason for it. Of course, originally with the Milwaukee M12, I did actually think it would be nice to have it because I figured I had two pieces of equipment that took grease, and it'd be nice to just have a cordless one to do the job. And honestly, I probably will pick up the cordless ones probably more often than the manual ones, just because they are a little bit faster, a little bit easier, especially when greasing the tractor. But the dump trailer, because right now it's still so new and everything, I just feel like just a little bit of grease from the manual grease gun is all it really needs. I guess just getting to the bottom line, getting to the point, if you have a lot of grease zerks, if you're greasing something every single day, pick one of these things up. over a manual grease gun. It'll save you tons of time, tons of fatigue from squeezing the handle or the pistol grip so many times. It definitely is an upgrade to the manual ones. If you're just a DIY guy with just a few small pieces of equipment, just save yourself the money and just get the manual grease guns. They'll do the job. Hopefully there was some information in this video. Hopefully it didn't feel like a waste of time. And thanks everyone for watching. If you like this video, give it a big thumbs up. And if you're not a subscriber, go down, click subscribe for me. We'll see you in the next one.